Yes, this is a Shamu thing I had since the first time I went to SeaWorld. It's still here, and it's still going to be here because it has the perfect shape to sleep with. Deal with it. Um, this goes between the legs so I don't crush my own, nuts. In other news, Elon Musk recently said that, he admires a lot of Chinese people because they're hardworking, intelligent, and all these kind of things. And he says that many Americans are being complacent. Some people have been bitching about it, that he's basically saying something about the Communist Party, that China's better, whatever. Okay, these people are brainlets. For those you know the term, I suggest you investigate what it means. But to save you the trouble, it's basically someone who has a very small brain, like dinosauric bird brain kind of person. And it makes sense because there's a very big difference between saying, "Oh, I know these people who are very diligent and work hard," to mean that the government that's above, I wouldn't say above, below would be the better phrase because government is shit. The government who's below them, but still kind of rules them, is the same. It's saying that compliment to them. I mean, it wasn't meant to them. It was just meant to a certain group of hardworking people. And with the American thing, where he's talking about basically welfare whores, gives me that kind of people, the people who physically could literally beat the living daylights out of me without breaking a sweat. And I'm not a small dude, but still, some of these guys are fucking huge. And and assuming no tactics, just straight up punches, they would beat the living crap out of me. But yet they basically live on welfare. Ugh. They're a cost to society, blah, 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 blah. So he's talking about these people, the entitled people, the useless, that gives me that. And the same reason when I said white left the other day, I was referring to a very small group of people who, Asians call white left because they're white people, they're this group of white people of the left who are trying to, like, talk into issues about other races. In this case, it was Asians. They're trying to pass laws against Asian racism when the Asian community never asked for it. So it's this kind of people. So it's on one side, they think, oh, he's praising the Chinese Communist Party. Nobody is praising the Chinese Communist Party. I'm pretty sure the Chinese Communist Party, I mean, in literal terms, they don't even praise themselves because deep down they know they're pieces of garbage. And on the other hand, then they're saying, oh, he was referring to all Americans. So how come you go from a phrase that says, oh, some people are diligent and some people are basically like entitled, and on one hand, you say he's referring to the government, and on the other hand, in the same phrase, he's referring to the entire nation. You guys got issues. I mean, if you have a complex of inferiority, that's your own issue, but Elon Musk was referring to that. He's basically praising people who work hard, take risks, do what they gotta do, kind of attitude, etc. Those who plan long term, those who save, those who prepare. That's the kind of people he was praising. It doesn't mean the entire 1.2 billion Chinese. It's most certainly did not refer to the 8 million, I think, members of the CCP. And of those, even them, how many were forced to be it? Because or otherwise you couldn't get either a license or some stupid crap like that. So, and on the other hand, he was referring to very specifically entitled Americans. I mean, if you're a hardworking, risk-taking entrepreneur American that's not asking for laws to privilege them, that's not asking for other people's money, except in the form of maybe credit, which you not only will you pay back, but you will pay back with interest. So we go back to the risk-taking part. He wasn't referring to you. And it's kind of funny he said that, and people from both the left and the right are giving him crap about it. He wasn't. Well, maybe on the left he was referring to the gives me that because basically to be a leftist you have to be a useless gives me that, or you have to be in a position of power, to take advantage of them. This is why welfare programs in the United States, what, 85% of everything goes to, no, it's like 70% of everything goes to overhead and only 30% reach the people that need it. Whereas charity, if that's vetted, of course, and you need to vet it because there's scams out there, 85% by law needs to go directly to the person, and 15 could be administrative costs. So that's the thing. He was referring to that kind of people. He wasn't crapping on Americans. He wasn't touting the CCP as something God knows what. Cause let's be honest, if you take Taiwan, which is the opposite of the the enemy of the CCP, And if you extrapolated that to mainland China, which could be done because basically it's a good sample of a population. It's not like only the best and brightest went there, which is one thing you can say about, for example, why Indian Americans, those came from India, have the highest GDP, but India is kind of poor. Is because the people who could go to the U.S. legally, might I add, tend to be those with the highest IQ, the most intelligent, and the most diligent. I mean, many of these people were from poor families, and their parents worked their ass off to send their kids to private schools, private colleges, end up in the states, go there legally and make a lot of dough for themselves and for their fellow now Americans. So that's a big difference. But however, China and Taiwan, they have both, like normal rural people here, normal rural people there, normal urban, suburban. So it's a very good, like a slice of the population, because it was just ordinary people who lived in both areas, obviously. In Taiwan specifically, it wasn't, as I said, not just the best and brightest who just, swam or boated all the way from mainland China to there. It was just regular people, not necessarily having anything special about them that differentiate from the others. If you took that, their like GDP per capita, and added it to China, I mean, for the love of God, they'd be like a hyperpower. It would be something else. The good thing is that most likely, if they were like Taiwan and still had the old Chinese culture, they wouldn't be expansionist, so it wouldn't be much of an issue. But that issue is not present. You have the CCP, which has degraded the wealth in that country. So he wasn't referring to the CCP. He was referring to people who are hardworking. And I'm pretty sure that goes with anyone who has those qualifications. He was saying, I know some who have these qualifications, and these qualifications are something to admire. So whatever you are, like Nigerians who are also above American whites, Nigerian Americans. So to give you another example, Indian Americans are pretty dark brown. Nigerian Americans who are black, Asian Americans, and these Chinese Americans, Taiwanese Americans, Japanese Americans, Native Americans, whoever is diligent and all these kind of things, and has been able to provide a good life for themselves, good service to other people, hence why they're rich, and a good future for their children. They're people to be admired. And I agree with that sentiment. And people who are freaking gives me that, I don't care if they're white, yellow, black, brown, whatever, they're basically a drag on society. And just to give you just one instance of what I mean, the entire budget of the Chinese Communist Party, okay, where they're supposed to be a hyper state, the Chinese Communist Party, the entire budget is around the same quantity the U.S. spends on social services. And that's even excluding many types of welfare. And in the case of the Chinese, it's including many services like healthcare, education, and all that kind of stuff. And the Chinese government, in spite of being a commie government, doesn't actually have a very strong welfare system. You know what their welfare consists of? Taking people out of poverty. Okay, we can claim all day and night if you want that, they're lying about the numbers, and I can assure you they are, but at least from the sources who could give us the same numbers, the real numbers from in the old days, the Soviet Union, the CIA, and others, are giving very good numbers in mainland China, considering that. And you also have to consider that their level to consider poverty is way above what the UN considers poverty. So it's like the UN considers being above poverty, making more than $2 a day. And for China to be considered poor, you have to make less than $500 a month. So it's, you can see that there's a difference. To be considered poor by the UN, it's $60. I don't know if they changed that, to be honest. I haven't researched that. They should, because that $2 30 years, 40 years, 50 years ago meant a lot more than they don't mean squat today. And they have 500 to consider that, so it has something good about that. They have that. That's the best welfare program I could think of. The U.S. was in that track, and in all honesty, they were losing poverty 1% every year until Lyndon Johnson, fuck him, and Vietnam War, piece of garbage, decided to, let's do the Great Society and spend on welfare. And the U.S. spent on welfare, spends a year on welfare, what the entire GDP of Europe was 70 years ago. Like literally all of Europe. You take all the way from Portugal um, to Poland, I guess. All those countries. If you add their GDP together, that's what the U.S. is spending on welfare. And has it solved poverty? No. The other side, not spending that much. Has it solved poverty? Yes. So ironically, they took these values from Western society and applied them over there, which took people out of poverty. As I said, if they would have just had it to begin with, instead of wasting what was it 30 years on commie garbage, just extrapolate Taiwan's GDP per capita to China. Damn. That's all I gotta say, guys. Don't hate on Elon Musk. He's right in this case. There are many things you can criticize, but in this case, he was right. Admire diligent people, admire smart people, admire working people, and loathe gives me that welfare whores, people who need to force other people to give them money. You're just a weight on society, and ugh, society would be better off without you. There, I said it. I don't care. Deal with it. Have a great one.